Hello, and welcome back to Iron Butterfly Podcast. My name is Megan Jaffer.
And I'm Katie Hopkins, and we'll be your hosts.
We created Iron Butterfly Podcast in honor of Eloise Page, the original Iron Butterfly. And on this very special season, we are going inside our first documentary feature film titled The Power We Hold: Stories from Women Spies. This film features 10 of the most powerful women you've never heard of, and this season, we'll get up close and personal with each of them. We hope you find their stories as powerful as we do. Well, welcome, Tish Long.
Thank you, Katie and Megan. It's so good to see y'all.
It's good to see you, too.
Good to finally be in the office in person. Mm-hmm. I've seen it on social media. I've seen it on the podcast. If a podcast has video, what's it called? A video cast?
That's a good question. A vidcast.
A vidcast.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Anyway,
There's gotta be a
I've
word.
seen it, but I've never been here before. So
I know. To remind the listeners, you were in our first season. I think you were episode 3. You were either 2 or 3.
And she was 3.
You were
I don't
3.
know. Yeah.
So it's been a while.
It's been a while.
It has been a while. And for everyone listening, you should take a tip from Tish Long. And if you're not following us on social media, you should be.
Absolutely.
So to start us off, we are here because you have been featured in the documentary that has been produced and directed by Iron Butterfly. And we showed the documentary to a focus group before it was finished. And we asked them their thoughts. And one of the biggest pieces of feedback we received from the focus group is they wanted to learn more about each and every one of you featured.
Oh, wow. That's interesting feedback.
It's fantastic.
It's kind of the best feedback you can hope for.
Exactly.
As a documentarian.
And so we are here to do a deep dive into Letitia Long.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Are you sure? If my mother were around, she would say, "Are you sure?"
Well,
thanks,
well,
Mom.
Yeah. We're sure.
Be careful what you ask for. That's the other thing she would say.
So I'm going to start. I just thought about this right now, and I'm debating. I'm just going to go for it.
I think you should say
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is not in the documentary. This is like behind the scenes information. But the first day we filmed was in a studio. And you guys will hear, we are doing a kind of making of the documentary podcast. And if you haven't listened to it already, please do, because it'll give you kind of behind the scenes.
But I haven't, so I'm going to have to go find
You
it.
will.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we were in a studio in D.C. and
Capitol Hill.
Was Tish number 1? Was she the first person?
No, she was second.
2.
Chitra.
Chitra was first.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you came in and
it was very cold that day.
It was
cold.
cold.
It was January.
And I thought I was
January in
lost.
DC,
It was
yeah.
it was off an alley.
It was like a carriage house
Yeah,
in an
it
alley in
was,
DC.
yeah.
But it was cool. It was like a
Yeah.
cool place. And we were welcoming you. And I don't want to say inadvertently, because it was on purpose, called you an enigma.
Oh,
And
yes.
It was
You
funny
weren't-
because Megan was, I think, trying to warm up her interview muscles as much as we were warming you up on sound and checking all of your levels and everything. And so it was kind of like a filler.
And I, as a third party, because I know how I felt after I said it and I saw Tisha's face and her reaction. But what was your...
I mean, you could have heard a pin drop. So I think everyone was like, ooh, that was interesting.
So I'd like to explain myself. I have since. It's been 3 years. But I think it's relevant to what we're doing here today. So,
Are we interviewing Megan today?
No.
I think we might be.
It's okay to turn the tables.
Tish has this effect
Yes.
on people.
Megan,
But this
could
has-
you please explain yourself.
I will.
And then I'll explain afterwards.
Okay, great.
I'm so glad we're addressing this. This is like therapy.
So I am very honored and lucky to know Tish on a personal level. And so I know who she is outside of the national security space. I know the friend Tish, I know the mother Tish, I know the mentor Tish. And so I know that, how I hope I can say this, but I know the warm and fuzzy Tish, right?
Mhm.
But I also know how everyone else sees you that doesn't know you personally, because I used to be that person. And you were larger than life. You were a national security hero. You were a rock star.
Are we going to do a quick detour on your first time meeting Tish?
We can, because that's how.
That's funny. That's a good story.
Because it's relevant, right? Because that's where I came from, right? And that's how a lot of people are. We were at an event. It was actually an intelligence and national security event. They have an annual award dinner called the Baker Dinner. And this was when I was I probably was in the community only a year or two, and I was volunteering. And the dinner was going on, and they had a step and repeat outside, and it's usually super busy, when people first come in. So I told my boyfriend, I think he was my boyfriend at the time, now
Yeah, you
husband.
weren't married.
I said, let's go sneak out now. It's dinner and take our pictures with the step and repeat. And my friend had come in from out of town, and she was staying in the hotel, and she came down to take our picture. So she's taking, no, my husband's taking just my picture. And Tish is standing to my left with her husband. And when I was done, I was still taking picture, and I look over to see that, someone's waiting. And she was like, and I'm like, come on, I'm done or whatever. And she's like, well, would you like to take a picture with me? And I was like, I guess. Because I had no idea who this woman was.
weirdo? Who does she think she is?
And my husband was like, his face was like, because my face was like, I guess.
Was she director at the time?
Either she was director or just left. Like,
I was still director.
okay. Well, even worse.
Even worse.
No, the reason I know, and it sounds, oh my gosh, who is this woman? And does she have this big head? I had been doing pictures
All
with
day.
employees,
Yeah.
like for the last 35 minutes.
Yeah.
And when you guys walked up, I was like, oh my gosh, yes, I can finally leave.
Well, you
And-
then said.
And then I realized I hadn't gotten a picture with my husband.
Oh.
So and we never seem to get a picture because I'm always because employees are saying, can we get our picture? And, of course, I never say no.
Yeah.
And my husband gives up and
He's like, I'm done.
and leaves.
Yeah.
Goes to the bar, and so that's why we were still standing there, because we were like walking away. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, honey,
Let's
can
get a
we
picture.
please get our picture?
So
And-
I give you a very nasty
Cold.
look.
Very cold. Ice
And
cold.
You then say, hello, I'm Tish Long. And I knew your name. I knew who you were by name, but I didn't know you by face. And that's when I turned to like a ghost. And I was like, oh my God, yes.
And then Megan threw up on Tish's gown.
So see, I don't remember you giving a funny face. I don't
Yeah.
remember there being anything awkward.
I
I didn't even. Sorry, I really
don't even remember.
this.
Yeah. No, I'm
Yeah.
sure you didn't. And this is like years later, I told you this story,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So the reason we tell this story is that most people know what you look like. Like me. But you are every descriptive word I just used. Hero, national security, legend, all those words, rock star. And so we're excited to share a deeper side of Tish today so that people can get to know a little bit. I know it's hard to do it over a podcast, but get to know a little bit of how Katie and I know you.
Thank you. Again, it's great to be here. I haven't seen you guys for a while. We're all so busy. And I mean, I'm in awe of both of you. I'm also in awe of Amanda, what the three of you have put together. And I mean, the documentary, I remember the first conversation about the documentary. And I mean, you guys are rock stars. And just to be back here with you, it's great. Makes me feel good. The enigma.
I
thought we were over
back
it.
to business.
The enigma.
Tish says.
I was like, wow. I didn't know what to say. I didn't, which, I mean, does happen. I wouldn't say I've never been speechless. I have many times been speechless. But I was like, an enigma, really? And I think we just moved on.
Yeah.
After that, you could
Yes.
hear a pin drop and it was
Yeah.
quiet. And I just didn't say anything.
Yeah.
And we moved on.
Mm-hmm.
And, I thought about that day, that night, the next day. And I really can be an enigma. And it is for those who don't know me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very protective of my family and very protective of kind of my personal life.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably why.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people, if I don't have the opportunity to get to know them, maybe see, they don't get the opportunity to see the real me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's the same for just about anyone.
No, I
Mhm.
agree.
When
Totally.
you don't know someone, you just see, a facade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it also explains why so many people have told me until they got to know me, they were afraid of me. Now, can you imagine anybody being afraid of me?
Yes, I can. Yes.
Come on. I'm not even 5'2" anymore.
Well,
It's
we
like-
know better than to judge by that.
I mean, I don't pack a mean punch anymore. No, I never packed a mean punch.
I was like,
know,
anymore.
I never packed a mean. I mean, it's like people were afraid of me. Really? I guess that's the enigma.
Yeah, but I think it's
That's
less
an enigma to me.
afraid and more intimidated. You
Yeah.
know, when you see
I think
someone
it's an
larger.
I think
than
it is
life.
an awe
Awe
thing,
thing,
too.
yeah.
Like people, a lot of times, the first time they see you is up in lights, like speaking in front of a large crowd or moderating a discussion, and like I don't know. We were joking about this yesterday
About
when
the
we
first-
recorded. Like every one of you is kind of a celebrity, and I know you don't think of yourselves as celebrities, but like
No.
you are kind of
No.
celebrities.
Yeah.
And people don't know that, like I used to almost throw up before every time I walked on stage. Or one of the biggest doubts I had for my last 2 jobs was, can I do the public speaking?
Mm.
Can I do that? Can I walk out for GeoInt in front of 4,000 people and just look like I'm comfortable?
Mm.
Can I testify? Well, I'd been testifying before Congress for a while, but particularly in the last 2 jobs, I really doubted and questioned myself as to whether or not I could do that.
So I think it's important to explain to people how you got over that, or not even got over, but how you can do it,
Mhm.
because it's
Well, at the end of the day, everybody has a thing or things that they tell themselves they can't do.
mhm.
Like, and typically it's something like a public speaking or something like going skydiving or something like that's just intimidating, right?
Mhm.
And we all have that. Like, we all have those fears,
Yes.
and then it's like the internal monologue of you see someone doing something and you say to yourself, "I could never do
I
that."
could never do that. Yeah,
But the reality is, you can do it.
you can.
and what do you do so that you can do that?
So for that, and it really was my last job as director NGA, because I knew I was no longer going to be the deputy.
Mhm.
I couldn't hide behind anyone. And you got to do it. So, you'll laugh. And I'm not sure I've ever told this story before, but I used to practice. Okay, practice makes perfect. I would sit my husband down right across from me. I would stand at the island in the kitchen because it would be an okay height, like if you're at a podium. And I would have my remarks and I would practice. I would go through them, and go through them. Now, you can only do that for so long, meaning like maybe the first 4 times I was going to speak, because you just don't have time. You are speaking every single day.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, the first couple of times were really important because it was the change of director ceremony. And then it was the big town hall with all the seniors, and then all the town halls with the employees. Just taking over an organization, leading an organization. It is all about communication.
Yeah.
Sure, it's about a lot of things. It's about leadership and vision and strategy and, all kinds of things. It's communication. And oh my gosh, did I practice and practice and practice. And then you just get used to it. And it becomes second nature.
Yeah.
You know what's so funny about this as I'm reflecting is that your fear of that actually had nothing to do with your ability. Like, it wasn't that you weren't good at it.
Yeah.
It was just that it was really uncomfortable for you.
Yeah, it was very uncomfortable. And I had a couple of not great experiences when I was speaking on a topic I knew nothing about.
Yeah.
And so that's also a clue.
Yeah.
Stay away from topics you don't know anything about. When somebody asks you to give a speech on a particular topic, before you say yes, just think about whether or not you really want to do it, especially the question and answer part.
Oh, yeah.
Totally.
You can prepare remarks and you can give remarks on anything. Then if you have to answer tough questions, yeah.
I just love that being like part of the image of what a hero looks like is like actually doing the practice and like feeling like they're about to throw up before they do something hard. And like just like I can just see you at your kitchen island just like again and again, and John being like, honey, you got it. And you're like, no, one more. I don't know. I love that image. I think it's so relatable.
Mom used to say, practice makes perfect. Really, it was never perfect. But practice does help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned your mom, because that's, I think, where we're going to start. I love the fact that you come from a big family and of modest means. And so I'd love for you just to tell us about how you grew up and where you grew up.
I grew up in Glen Burnie, Maryland. I was born in Annapolis. Glen Burnie is about, I don't know how many miles, but 15 minutes north of Annapolis. It's right in between Baltimore and Annapolis. My dad was career NSA and Army Signals Agency, I think is the proper name for the forerunner to NSA. My mother worked there also until, I don't know, child number 4 or 5. They moved, must have been number 5, because they moved to Glen Burnie right as my brother Rick was born, and brought him home from the hospital to the new house. So they were no longer in an apartment building where everybody used to watch all the kids. So my mother could actually work. So, now we're living in a community, a 3-bedroom, 1.5-bath house. So yes, it was modest means because there ended up being 10 of us, 8 kids and my parents. And I'm 6 of 8. There's 3 years between my brother Rick and me. So I'm number 6, but I'm the oldest of the 3 little ones, as we were always referred to. So I got that middle child syndrome going on, and I got that oldest
Older
child
child.
syndrome going on
and
too.
potentially youngest as well, because you're in the younger 3.
Well, but I was the oldest of the 3 little ones. So
I see you as the oldest.
Yeah.
Energy.
yeah. Yeah.
So you grew up in Maryland, and I mean, you had, a family that was of service.
3 of my brothers worked at NSA as well. My older sister was a librarian.
Oh, wow. I don't think I knew that.
And yeah, I mean, public service was kind of always there. In the background. We were all Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts. So
Did you know that your dad worked at NSA growing up?
Yeah.
He was open about it, and
well, I think we lived in a community where there were a fair amount of folks who worked at NSA, because we were like 15, 20 minutes from NSA. Now, open about it. I mean, I knew where he worked. I didn't really know until probably college that I really understood what NSA was. But yeah, it wasn't a secret that he worked there. Yeah.
And what do you remember about growing up in a large family? Like, what's maybe like a memory that sticks with you of what it felt like to grow up in your house?
Oh, there's so many different things. I mean, there was always somebody around. There was always something going on. Really interesting, 3 bedrooms. So my parents had a bedroom. My older sister had a bedroom, and my younger sister and I shared the other bedroom. And the 5 boys lived downstairs in the basement. And I really don't remember. There were double bunk beds, so that was 4 of them. Where did the 5th one sleep? I don't know.
Don't remember.
I don't know. I know later on, they put on a little addition to the house, and what had been the dining room was turned into my oldest brother's bedroom. So then, the 4 in the basement with the double bunk beds worked. But I don't know how it worked before then. I gotta ask one of them. Yeah. It was always chaos. And it wasn't, because how did 10 of us take showers? And I never remember waiting for the shower or waiting for the bathroom. So there had to have been some precision also. Then again, my older sister is 9 years older than me. So, she was kind of gone, when I was 9 years old.
Yeah.
18. Everyone put themselves through college. So turned 18, you were gone, moved out.
Started your life.
And close family. Always had Sunday dinner. If anyone had moved out, everybody was always back for Sunday dinner. When they got married, then the spouse was back for Sunday dinner, and the kids, as they started having kids, back. So holidays, we were always together. And so very close. And you learn a lot growing up in a big family. You really learn how to get along with others. You learn to speak up and to, on the one hand, take care of yourself because there's so many, and nobody ever got left behind. But
you weren't getting coddled either.
You weren't getting coddled at all. And I can remember my parents never 5 boys, 3 girls. I can remember them really never making a distinction on who could do what Like I never got the, you can't be an engineer, for instance. However, I also remember ironing my brother's shirts. We all went to Catholic school. We all wore uniforms. And I can remember ironing their white shirts. I don't know how old I was, 9, 10, when I said, Mom, I'm not doing this anymore. Why am I ironing their shirts and my shirts? They can iron their shirts. I'm done. And she didn't have anything to say. She didn't say, yes, you will, or that's a good point. She just didn't say anything. And I never ironed
Another shirt.
shirt.
Wow. All
I
right.
love that.
I
love
do.
that.
I do remember that. That's I haven't thought of that in a long time, Katie. Yeah. But, the boys cut the lawn, the girls cleaned the bathrooms. Although I never cleaned that half bath downstairs in the basement.
No.
Scary.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Boy bathrooms
Yeah.
are very
Especially
scary.
5 boys sharing a bathroom.
Yikes.
Yes.
And what did young Tish do for fun and like want to be when she grew up?
So for fun, there were 9 of us girls in the neighborhood who became thick as thieves, and we still get together. It's the Glen Burnie girls.
Oh,
Everybody in my family knows the Glen Burnie girls. They'll all be at my house the first weekend in December, the second weekend in December. Having, girlfriends like that, relationships for 50 years, I know how lucky I am. It's extraordinary, to have a close relationship like that. We were always together. Now, I didn't meet them. I knew one in 2nd grade because the 2 of us went to Catholic school. I then went to public school starting in 5th grade, which is really when I met all the girls. I knew them a little bit from the community pool, and most of us swim team. So, school year, we're together the whole time. Summers, 8 a.m. swim practice. We would come home because the pool then would be closed for maybe an hour, pack our lunches, go back, stay there until dinner, go home for dinner, go back to the pool until it closed. We were on our bikes, riding all over the neighborhood. It was a time where you just had to be home before the street lights came on.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So, I was studious. So I studied a lot during the school year, but I was with my girlfriends all the time during the summer. And I always wanted to be a math teacher.
Oh, wow.
I loved math and science and always wanted to be a math teacher, high school math teacher. I can't believe I wanted to be a high school math teacher. And God bless our high school math teacher. God bless all of our teachers. Yeah. I mean, they work so hard. They are educating our future, and we pay them so little. But I always wanted to be a math teacher until junior high in high school. I mean, my junior year in high school, when I started talking to my guidance counselor about colleges. And Carol Harding, Ms. Harding, thank you. She told me I did not want to be a math teacher and that I wanted to be an engineer. And I said, okay, what's an engineer?
What do they do?
I didn't know. And she explained what an engineer was. And I said, okay, I'm still not really sure. And she said, why don't I set up some meetings for you with some engineers in the local community.
Oh, wow.
That's wild.
That's
Is that
above and beyond
yeah,
most.
gold star for Mrs. Harding.
Yeah.
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 Is that not amazing?
That is amazing.
And she did, and met a couple dads. Turned out one or two of my friends' dads were engineers, and kind of the rest is history.
Mm-hmm.
I went off to Virginia Tech and electrical engineering, and never looked back.
I like your experience at Virginia Tech because it was unique because you went to school, but you also did like a program where you worked.
Mhm.
And I think all schools should be like that. So explain what that was because I find it just fascinating.
Yeah. So Megan, it's actually a formal program
Yeah.
called the Cooperative Education Program.
Okay.
And at Virginia Tech, it was much bigger as far as number of students than it is today. I think largely because today there are so many internships,
Mm-hmm.
and so students are getting hands-on experience in the summers. But that wasn't really the case when I went to Tech. I found out about the program because I had to put myself through school. And I had saved enough money in summer jobs to pay for my freshman year. And I had no idea what I was going to do after that because I knew I couldn't make enough money in a summer to pay for my sophomore year,
Mm-hmm.
and then junior and then senior. And so as I got to Tech and started talking to folks, I learned about the Cooperative Education Program. So it's a formal program. It takes you 5 years to get your undergraduate degree instead of the normal 4 years. You do your freshman year and your senior year like everyone else does, and then you take 3 years to do your sophomore and junior year because you alternate. We were on quarters then. Now you alternate semesters. You're not in the you can be in the university community, but you can go get a job anywhere in the country or the world probably. And employers came to Tech. They held job fairs specifically for
That program.
co-op students,
Yeah.
specifically for that program. So I interviewed with a number of entities, if you will, companies, and Naval Ship Research and Development Center in Annapolis. Back then they had a lab in Annapolis. Headquarters is in Bethesda, Maryland. It's called Carter Rock. Was looking for, they were part of the program. And I actually went with them because I could live at home.
Mm-hmm.
So not only was I going to make money to pay for my tuition, I could live at home.
Yeah.
So I wasn't paying rent.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of my peers, took that as another opportunity to, go someplace different,
Yeah.
live in a different place. But I lived at home. I carpooled. I didn't have a car. And I used my mother's car on the days that it was, my turn to drive. And as it turned out, the lab actually ended up paying all my tuition and books and
wow.
fees.
Oh, wow.
And really all I had to do was pay for my room and board. So I was actually even able to save money while I was in the program.
That's amazing.
Yeah. The best part about it, now, don't get me wrong, obviously it was great having the Navy pay for my education. And then I had to pay back from a work perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Not pay the money back, but if they paid for a semester, then I had to work for a semester. If they, so when I finished my senior year, I had to at least go to work for them for a year or
More.
pay them back.
Or pay them back. Okay.
Yeah. But the hands-on experience I got. I mean, I actually, in some cases, what I just learned in a semester, I was able to actually then put it to use on the job
Mm-hmm.
and get that experiential learning, which, is such a hallmark of many university programs today. And it was a natural as a part of the co-op.
And do they
program.
still have that? I mean, I know you're still very involved with Virginia Tech.
Go Hokies.
Yes, I was hoping you'd say that. And do they still have that program?
They do. But it's just, it's not as, there just aren't as many students in it. I think, as I mentioned, because there are internship opportunities today that there weren't then. And so many students are just eager to finish in 4 years and be
Move
done
on.
with school.
Yeah.
To which I say, you're going to be working the rest of
I
your life.
know. I know.
Take another year or two while you can.
Yeah. So what was next? So what was it next after college?
So I graduated in 1982. I had a ton of job offers. A woman engineer. There weren't very many at that time. There still aren't enough today, but there weren't nearly. I mean, less than 20% of my graduating class was women. And I actually accepted a job with Fairchild Industries in their satellite communications group in Germantown, Maryland. And I was supposed to start the Monday after I graduated, full-time job, full-time pay, and they were sending me to get my master's and paying for that. So I was actually really only working 2 or 3 days a week and going to school the other days. And as I got closer and closer to graduation, I realized I just can't do this. I just can't start full-time and go to school starting the 2 days after I graduated.
Yeah.
And so I went to the gentleman who was going to be my supervisor and asked if, okay, I'll start work 2 days after I graduate, but can I take the summer off from school and start school in the fall? He said, no.
Oh my gosh.
And I said, then I'm not going to accept your offer. And I had already accepted.
Tish playing hardball.
I know, which I don't do. I need to tell my husband that story. I don't think I've ever told him that because he says I'm way too nice to people. I couldn't do it. So I went back to work at David Taylor. I called up my old boss and I said,
Do you have anything?
And he said, no, but I know that the lab in Bethesda is looking for people. And I was like, great, I can live in the Bethesda, Washington, D.C. area. And got a job in the submarine sonar group. And started work there.
And what was it like starting work as a young woman engineer in a very clearly male-dominated
clearly male-dominated
profession? Like, what was that like at that time? What do you remember?
I definitely remember being the only woman in my branch, division, and department.
Wow. How many people?
The only
would that
woman
be?
engineer.
Yeah.
There was one woman physicist, and
which is also probably super rare at the time.
Super rare.
Yeah.
And a handful of administrative assistants.
Uh-huh.
I gotta tell you, I was treated the same as all the guys. I never had any issues. They welcomed me into the group. I was in a small, kind of special group, submarine sonar. We built, installed, maintained acoustic intelligence collection systems on submarines. Which is really how I got my entree into the intelligence community. Now, I wasn't in the intelligence community at David Taylor, but all of the data went to the Office of Naval Intelligence. I worked on submarines, dockside, and
Were women even allowed on submarines at that time?
no.
So that must have been weird also.
Every time in the early days, I would go on board. They would announce over the 1MC, the loudspeaker system, woman on board, woman on board. And I thought, this is really strange. Until you go into a couple of the spaces and you see pinups.
Oh.
You two are too young to know that men used to take the centerfolds out of Playboy magazine and pin them up on their bulletin boards. That actually, so I do actually remember that in some of the workspaces at David Taylor.
So at work.
At work, not just on submarines, at work. There was one office in particular, and do you know I did not have to say anything? The first time I went in, I noticed, and I didn't say anything. I think I was shocked.
Yeah.
And you're what are you like?
I'm 22 years old.
Yeah, 22.
I'm 22 years old. Because it didn't happen at the Annapolis lab. So when I was a co-op, when I was 18, 19, 20, I never saw any of that. And I was the only woman. But as I'm working full time, and it was just one office, and the next time I went back,
It was gone.
it was gone. I think they were embarrassed.
I bet you they were. I
think they were just honestly embarrassed and had never thought about it.
They didn't have to.
Right.
There had
exactly.
there had never been, although I think about the administrative assistants
Yeah.
who probably never went into that particular office because there was no reason for them to. It was kind of like a lab area. And fast forward, I don't know, 2, maybe 3 years, and I'm now running my own project, and it's time for the sea trial. It's time to install, it's an upgrade to the collection system, and it's time to install the collection system, which I was a part of. It's time to go to sea and test it. You can only test so much dockside. You got to go to sea to test the upgrades, because what we were doing at the end of the day was collecting signatures of adversary submarines. And back then, it was all the Soviet Union. And so we're calibrating the sonar system, we're calibrating the collection system. So when the subs deploy, they can get accurate readings of the enemy submarines, of the Soviet submarines. And I'm thinking, okay, am I going to sea? And, as we're planning the sea trial, it was a given to everyone that I was going to go to sea and I was going to run the sea trial because that's what the program manager did.
Yeah.
And my boss was great. He said, yeah, we're going to make this happen. So, I mean, it's a fairly long period of time when you're working it was a pretty large upgrade, because you have to get permission to install it, and then you have to install it, and then you have to test it. So I've been working on this submarine for a while. And oh, by the way, they stopped announcing woman on board not long after because I was just there all the time. And I remember a spouse coming on board and they announced woman on board. And I started, because I didn't notice that they stopped announcing it. But then when they announced it for someone else, I thought, oh, what am I? But anyway, I digress. So we asked the commanding officer of the submarine, who's a Navy commander, do you see any problem? Tish is going to run this sea trial. And he's like, no, well, wait a minute. I don't know if I have the authority to approve her riding for, 30, 40 hours on a submarine. And he said, I think I need to check with my boss. So he goes to the squadron commander, who is a Navy captain, or an O6. And I mean, O6 just says, yeah, there's no way I'm approving this. Not that he's not going to approve it.
He's just not going to make the decision.
He's just not going to make the decision. Yeah. It ends up going all the way to the commander of Submarine Forces Atlantic, or ComSub Land.
That is wild.
Who approved it.
Wow.
And when was this? 1985? 6 something? Okay.
Yeah. Ish.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow. And it was like a whole diplomatic incident, basically.
As it turns out, Katie, it wasn't. I don't think anyone had ever asked before.
Yeah.
But women were not serving on submarines. Women weren't in combat back then. There were, remember, restricted line officers and unrestricted line officers. Women weren't serving in anything but support roles back then.
Mm-hmm.
Submarines, surface navy, anywhere, any of the military services. So this is a very different time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think anyone had ever asked before. There hadn't been a woman as far as I knew, in a position that required her to go to sea.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thankful that my boss treated it as a given and simply said, well, of course you're going to run this. Of course you're going to do it, and we're going to make it happen.
Mm.
Now, we flew to Cape Eleuthera. The acoustic range is off Eleuthera. It's a island in the Bahamas. We get to the small little boat dockside because the submarine's at sea. Mm-hmm. So we have to do an at-sea transfer. Mm-hmm. Which, of course, I had never done before because I've never been to sea. And it's pretty rough. And so we don't do it that day. We don't do it the next day. And the boat, the submarine, is kind of running out of time. They're home ported in New London. They have X amount of time on the range, and they got to go back north. So they say, okay, come on out. We may have to do what's referred to as a sailplane transfer or sail transfer, where you climb the ladder up the sail and go through the hatch on top instead of just going through one of the hatches, topside on the flat part of the submarine. And sure enough, we did. They put the gangplank over. You walk. The minute I even was about to touch down topside, they grabbed me. They clipped something on my, I had on blue jeans. They clipped something on, they were not going to lose me overboard.
That's wild.
I climb up. I climb down in. The CO was great. The crew was great. In fact, they were so cute. There's not a lot of room on submarines. Mm-hmm. This was a 594 class. It was 597, the USS Trepang. And the officer's head or bathroom, they put a sign on the door. It's so funny when I think about it now. But I didn't blink back then, and I appreciated that they did it. It was a chicken in really bright colors with plastic on top and a grease pencil. You guys know what a grease pencil is?
I know.
So this was normal on it probably still is, when they're plotting where they're going. Yeah. They have big plastic sheets, and they plot with a grease pencil that you can then just erase.
Yeah. Okay. It's like a dry erase almost.
Yes, except for it doesn't smear at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's almost like a crayon, but it's thicker and more permanent.
Okay.
But it does erase. And this little thing across the bottom that said the chick is in or out. So the chick is with a line in and another line out.
And you had to circle it?
And I just checked if I was in the head so no one else would come in.
The chick is in.
And then when I left, I would erase it and put out.
Oh
I
my
can
God.
guarantee you no one out there has heard this story. I know that for a fact.
And I still have that somewhere in a box, and I need to find it.
Oh my God, I would love to see that.
And
I would love
then
to see that.
they in the wardroom, which is where the officers eat, there's a table that folds out of the wall. It's the operating table if they ever need to have emergency surgery at sea. They made that up as a bed for me, so that's where I slept.
Oh my gosh.
Trust me, I didn't sleep the whole time I was on board. I mean, I just couldn't.
Yeah.
Everything went great. We did the whole testing. We got all the data we needed. It's time to get off, and it is super, super rough. And of course, you don't know that. You're submerged. I got to do all kinds of things. I got to drive. We did what's called angles and dangles, and I mean, the whole crew was great. I got full. I had already had lots of tours of submarines, but the trial went really well. We go to get off. It's the same thing. It's even rougher than before. But the captain is like, "You are getting off this submarine because you are not riding all the way back to New London with us." That was like a 4 or 5 day trip.
Mm-hmm.
And so same thing. We just climbed down, and off the boat.
What an amazing, that's your first experience. I mean, this is your first job, really. I mean,
It's my
first
first
job
job.
out of college.
And
Yeah.
I had only been working there a couple of years. And I had so many amazing experiences there. I was given a lot of, as everyone was, a
Opportunities.
lot of opportunity.
How long were you there total?
So I left in 1988, and that's when I actually went to Naval Intelligence proper.
Mm-hmm.
I continued to run programs and had a couple folks working for me. And I got to the point where, where's all the data going? I want to know what's happening with the data. I want to know how it's being used. I mean, I knew because we worked with our customers, Naval Intelligence, the analysts at Naval Intelligence. I mean, ultimate customer, of course, is the fleet. But I worked with the customer at Naval Intelligence, but I just wanted to do more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got recruited by our sponsor in Naval Intelligence, who funded all of our programs at David Taylor. And so
you made the move.
I made the move.
So
oh.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. I was just going to say, take us through that. Like what, I mean, there's so much, because what I want to get is you have, I mean, your career is just amazing.
So my question was going to be you do obviously the hardcore engineering for a while.
Yes.
Right. And I'm sure that continued for a bit at Naval Intelligence, but at some point or maybe not. So you made the decision at some point that you weren't going to do that anymore. And then what did you move into, and when did you start leading more?
So Katie, that's a great question. It's a hard decision for some people. Do I want to leave the hands-on, whatever you do, the technical side, if you start out on the technical side, even if it's not technical,
Even if you're an analyst.
even if you're an analyst,
Yeah.
exactly. When do you, and how do you decide, and when do you decide to make that break? And when I'm making this decision, it's very different than today, from the standpoint of, and I'm very proud of this. I had a hand in helping to develop the technical ranks, if you will. We didn't have technical executives or what's the word I'm looking for? Technical track back then. If you wanted to continue to get promoted, you had to become a supervisor.
Mm.
But I'm not at that point yet. I'm at David Taylor, and I am leading a team. I'm not a supervisor, but even when I first started, I was leading a team of contractors and technicians. And then as I advanced, I had a couple of new employees working for me, more junior employees, more junior than I was. So I'm already leading teams at that point. And I realize I really like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like leading people. I like mentoring, inspiring, and there's a lot better engineers than me. I also recognize that. And it just didn't excite me as much as it had in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I moved to Naval Intelligence, I really became a program manager then at that point. I wasn't doing hands-on engineering.
Mm-hmm.
I still needed to understand the engineering because I was now the program sponsor for those programs at David Taylor. So they were bringing their proposals to me. I was funding them.
Mm.
I was kind of my boss's boss at that point. And so I still, needed to understand the technical and keep up with the technical, but I wasn't doing any hands-on engineering work.
Mm-hmm.
And when I made that move, I never looked back. I was happy.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that it was a better fit for me. Just leading teams of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think what's really interesting about your career is that unlike a lot of folks who are in government for a long time, you actually got to create new offices and like create a lot of new things. And I wonder if you could talk a little bit about maybe a couple of those experiences as well.
Yeah, I did. And you are right. It is unusual. It's also unusual. It was at that time unusual to move around as much as I did. And, I had to resign, except for when I went from David Taylor to Naval Intelligence. I was still a Department of the Navy employee, so I didn't have to resign.
Mm-hmm.
But every move after that, I'd actually resign from the Navy and get hired by DIA, and resign from DIA and get hired by CIA, and resign from CIA and get
That's crazy.
hired back by the Navy, and resign from the Navy and get hired by OSD, and resign from OSD
Oh my
and get
gosh.
hired by DIA, and resign from DIA and get hired by NGA. Now,
But she's not a quitter, folks.
when people used to say, "Aren't you afraid? What if it doesn't work out?"
Oh my gosh. I hate that when people say that.
You're not going to be able to go back. And I would just look at them and say,
I'm not going back. I'm going forward.
and if it doesn't work out, I'll figure something else out.
Mm-hmm.
That never bothered me.
Thank you for listening to a special episode of Iron Butterfly Podcast, which ventures inside the world of our documentary, The Power We Hold, Stories from Women Spies. We might be coming to a film festival near you. To follow along on our journey, follow us on YouTube or Instagram, or visit our website at www.ironbutterflymedia.com. And if you like the show, please be sure to rate, review, and subscribe. Stay fierce, and we'll talk next time.